Hello there. I'm glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Frame.
I like it.
I'm
I like
doing an intro,
I like
man.
variation. I like it.
I'm your host,
it.
Ryan Vanderhei, and I've learned some of my most valuable life lessons from my favorite TV shows and movies. Damn it. Sure, these works about entertain us. Sure, they offer us an escape, and sure, they tap into our emotions. But there's one Eve that's often overlooked.
Oh, you want me to say which one?
Yeah.
It's educational.
Okay.
If viewed from a different perspective, these stories and their characters can help us to learn and develop as human beings. I'm your co-host, Joe Parente, and it's our mission with this podcast to share these unique perspectives with you so you can grow from the show.
And are we going to grow from the show, Joe?
Today we will.
Today we
Noticeably.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
The topic of today's discussion, the 2024 film Nickel Boys and the importance of fighting against injustice. As always, there will be spoilers ahead, so please proceed with caution. I recommend you go watch the movie, come back and listen to the episode because this is a good movie you don't want to miss. And be sure to leave a like, rating, review wherever it is that you listen as it really helps the show. Shall we begin?
Onward.
We shall.
The answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
So, in watching Nickel Boys, I found myself in the theater experiencing, I can't even say watching, experiencing it from this unique point of view of an actual individual going through and being affected by racism. And I couldn't believe that this used to be how life was. It was like mind-boggling.
In this country, by the way, because it probably still exists in other places. But
Sure.
Yeah.
And we'll get to, it does definitely still exist here. But
Right.
just in this, the so crass, so blatant, slow, so unapologetic. I mean, it was just right there in front of your face. Here it's coded now.
exactly.
It's underneath the surface.
It's still there, though,
hidden.
to your point.
But I thought it was actually really beautiful because what a wonderful thing it is that I feel that way.
Yeah. Agreed.
How fortunate we are that in today's day and age, I do think that it's bizarre that this is how life used to be because at one point in time, that was just what it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's how people lived.
Mm-hmm.
It was just commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we still have a long way to go, but I think we're on the right track. We're heading in the right direction, we'll say. So that brings us to today and to what, you and I have lived through and experienced and seen. And I was curious, Joe, in your lifetime, have you ever witnessed any kind of racist, sexist, xenophobic behavior?
I have seen such things, but I gotta say, after seeing that movie, anything I'd say feels like it so pales in comparison
Yeah.
that it almost feels disrespectful
Sure.
to say this was some kind of injustice that I saw, and people could listen to that and go, "Really? Is that the best you got?"
Right.
And in that sense, I've obviously been the fact that we don't live in the South probably separates us from it to a degree.
Sure, absolutely.
But we still live in a major city, Los Angeles, that has a lot of ethnicities here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't pretend that this kind of thing doesn't exist all over the place.
Sure.
The examples I've seen have always been subtle.
Yeah.
In
comparison, like you said.
subtle.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything egregious, which makes me feel maybe a little protected or just fortunate.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen anything that I feel like was nothing stood out in my life that I've seen. For you?
And that's great. That's amazing.
It is great. It is amazing.
Especially, again, when we compare and contrast
Oh my God.
to what was happening in this film and what was commonplace in that time in the 60s and the 50s. So, same with me. I'm fortunate. I've always grown up in a very diverse environment. that sounds strange because I grew up in Dover, Delaware. Some people probably don't have a perspective of what Dover, Delaware.
The great melting pot of Dover.
Yeah. The first state, I will remind you. That's the only thing we have going for us. But my classrooms, my neighborhoods, always full of people from all walks of life.
Okay.
Always extremely ethnically diverse. And I feel very fortunate to grow up in that environment. But there were times when hanging around particular friends, peers, acquaintances, that racist language, racist ideals were used. And I it's only in hindsight, but at the time I didn't want to believe that it was real. So as a defense mechanism, sort of, I guess, if you want to word it as, I told myself they were joking. I told myself it was all jokes.
Right.
It was all just kind of like you said, like just nothing egregious. It was just just them trying to be funny, maybe. Like that's what I convinced myself of.
Mm-hmm.
It's only in hindsight, as I'm an adult, as I'm older, as I'm matured, that I look back and I realize that those people weren't joking, or that it was, covert racism.
Right.
It's
right.
It's coded. It's not egregious, overt, direct, but it's behind the scenes. It's behind the curtain. And that's still going on today all over the country.
I
Unfortunately.
think it is unfortunate. And the more I think about it, the more I think it's really insidious that it makes me think, well, wait a minute, maybe I have been exposed to it a lot more. I have to really dig a little bit deeper because I grew up a few decades before you, and there was really casual language when I was a kid.
Sure.
And the N-word was not common, but it wouldn't make you go, whoa.
Right.
It could be heard on television even. It could be heard in the movies. Mm-hmm. It was like, I don't know, there's probably a point in the late 70s or 80s where that started to dissipate, thankfully. But I did hear casual racism growing up, particularly living in California around Mexicans.
Yeah.
And you're right, it was in the form of humor. And I think that kind of thing is, like I was saying earlier, insidious because it can really plant a seed, and it can, you can say that humans are kind of stamped by their culture by the age of 3. By the age of 3, you are American. You have absorbed what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
And
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that kind of thing can be passed on. I just want to say, Ryan, though, that this movie also had that effect on me. I think it was also how the camera work was done, that it made it so personal.
So visceral.
So visceral. Yeah. An incredibly moving experience.
Yeah, and very specific choice by the director, RaMell Ross, to do that.
Was.
Because it puts you in their shoes. You become that you're experiencing life through their eyes.
Yep.
And so that's what makes it so much more. It sinks in more. You're able to feel it more. It affects you more because you are essentially in their shoes. And I realized that ideologies like this spread because nobody speaks up or confronts anyone about it. I mean, I certainly didn't when it was happening. Again, I was just like,
right,
they're probably joking around, whatever, all good, no worries. Again, if you don't speak up, if you don't say something, that's when these things kind of continue on and just spread throughout, which is why we'll get into the movie and why the movie's important.
Okay.
So to give you a little recap of the film, this is Nickel Boys, directed by RaMell Ross, adapted from the novel by Colson Whitehead. Nickel Boys is a story about Elwood, played by Ethan Harrisay, a young African-American boy living with his grandma Hattie, played by Anjanae Ellis Taylor, in the Jim Crowe South during the 1960s. So he gets invited to start college classes early because he's a bright kid. And while he's walking to this college, he's offered a ride by a stranger. This, seems like a nice guy who's just like, hey, you need a ride? Like, I'm going the same way. Like, hop in. So he gets in the car, and turns out this stranger was driving a stolen vehicle. And so by proximity, Elwood being in the car as well, guilty by association. So he gets in trouble as well, and he's sent to a reform school called Nickel Academy, where he meets Turner, played by beautifully, my favorite performance of the film, by Brandon Wilson. And he soon finds out, Elwood, that racism, abuse, bigotry is all running rampant in this place.
Yeah, sure was.
That takes us to our first scene we're going to dissect here, which is my favorite scene in the movie, the fight scene. So Griff, played wonderfully by Luke Tenney, if you've seen Shrinking on Apple TV.
Oh, yeah.
That's our guy.
Yeah.
He's supposed to throw the fight. We know that because Turner and Elwood
round 3
were in their little hiding spot, they called it, and they overheard the conversation that he had between him and Spencer, the fighter, and Spencer. So he's supposed to throw it in the third round.
Yeah.
Go down in the third round. But during the fight, Turner still gets into it. He knows it's being thrown, but he still gets into the fight. You see him kind of he's shadow boxing. He's actually so into it that he's hitting his knuckles on the side of the ring, and they're bleeding. So he's fully involved in this fight that he's witnessing in front of him. And then Elwood is kind of yelling at him to get his attention. And then when he finally does, he says to him, and this hits so hard, he says, "This isn't the real fight." And then the camera pans across the crowd, and we see a whole bunch of white people yelling slurs, making hanging gestures, etc.
Yeah, and pulling out their cash to bet on the white guy because the fight is going to be thrown, and they all know it.
Fight's going to be rigged, and they all know it. Yep.
Just like the whole system is
Exactly.
rigged.
And that's what I felt in that moment. I thought, what an absolutely incredible juxtaposition of these two events, where the black man in the ring is winning the fight. He's fighting the white man and winning. And then on the outside, the black man's fighting the white man and losing.
Yeah.
And those words that he says, that this isn't the fight, really encapsulate what they have been going through that entire film, what young African-American boys were going through in life at the time, what all African-American people were experiencing at the time. You get these small victories, these small blips where you can just forget for just a second and dream and like life is normal and everything's well. But on the outside, there's still so much, and this egregious, we keep coming back to that word, it's the only word to describe, racism and bigotry and xenophobia.
Yeah.
That's happening.
For sure. The other word that comes to mind for me is oppressive.
Yeah.
Because it felt everywhere. It felt like you really got that feeling that Turner and Elwood had nowhere to go, that they were really, really, really stuck. And Elwood, being the bright guy that he was, figured it out. I mean, you could see his naivete getting stripped away in various scenes throughout the movie, and it was always painful to see because you could tell he was just a really good kid with a good heart, like he was just a sweet kid.
Yeah.
And to see him understanding, oh, this is what this place is about. This is how it works. And that was just, it hurt.
Yeah.
Hurt to watch that.
Yeah, and then again, that calls back to the unique choice that RaMell Ross made to have this shot the way he did, to have it a POV. Because you could sure have a wide shot or a two shot of these characters going through this, and we have throughout the history of cinema. But I don't know that I've ever seen a movie this.
Me either. Ryan and I are going to do another episode where there's a lot of POV. And I thought that was a lot. This is an entire movie of it.
Yeah.
Because we do get to see, first we're looking through Elwood's eyes, but then we do get to see Elwood because then we go into Turner's
Which I
we
thought was
now
brilliant.
we're in Turner's head looking out. I thought it was too. And so at no point were we a neutral third party observing something.
Correct.
Any conversation that's going on, those characters, if they're not talking to each other, if they're talking to Elwood or Turner, they're looking at you. They're looking at you sitting in the cinema. You are an active part of this.
Yeah, you're an active participant.
so to
You've
say.
been made an active participant in this. They're not. The characters are looking at each other, but also, like you said, that's such a great point. They're looking through the screen.
That's right.
Directly at you.
That's right. And I realized about when the movie starts and you're seeing its POV, and its fourth wall, and you are looking through the eyes of the character. It made me really uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man, I hope this changes soon. I really hope this changes soon.
Yeah.
And about a half hour in, I realized it's not going to change.
Yeah, this is the movie. Yeah.
And I thought there's brilliance behind this choice. And I thought of you as a filmmaker and what your observations were going to be, because I think feeling that you should feel uncomfortable watching this.
That's the point.
It is the point.
Yeah.
And I thought it was such a brilliant device, or technique rather, to use.
Yeah.
To not let you off the hook is a strange way to put it, but just to
Make
really
it real.
Make it real.
Grounded.
And make it immersive for you.
Yeah.
And I appreciated the hell out of it. It just made it made the challenging scenes, and there are some just that much more moving. It really, it was hard hitting.
Yeah, absolutely. Gut wrenching. I mean, especially.
And beautiful at the same time.
And beautiful, absolutely. You could appreciate it. But yes, at all. Seeing all the scenes with Hattie, just her, man, all those broke my heart. Like We're Elwood, as she's kind of explaining, like, I let you down, Elwood. I let you down. And you're just like,
scene was hard.
You know, because she's just such a caring, compassionate, wonderful woman who's taking care of this boy. And he's the way he is, largely in part because of her.
Big time. Anyone would want Hattie as their grandmother. Anyone would want her as their grandmother. There's just love oozing out of her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like you said, it just again, even now thinking back to it, I'm getting tense, because it's and that's what we have the show for.
That's right.
That's the power movies can have.
That is the power that movies can have. That's the magic. That's the magic of movies right there.
So we'll get back to this, but let's do a bad guy break, okay? Let's break it off a little bit here. Let's have a little bit of a break from this for a second here.
Yeah.
So, as always, 4 hints to guess a popular fictional character, kind of related to the subject at hand here. So we'll see if last time you got it. You got our whale, Brendan Fraser.
Yeah.
So let's see if you can get this one, Joe.
So far, not. We'll see.
The year that this film came out, 2009. You're gonna love this. I picked this for you.
Oh.
The genre, war, drama, adventure. The setting, 1940s France.
I think I got it.
And the actor who plays this character is Christoph Waltz.
What a great flick. So much fun.
So, 3, 2, 1, if anybody doesn't know by now,
Exactly.
we're talking about Colonel Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastards, 2009 film by Tarantino. I picked this for Joe because he's working a scene right
I am.
now.
That's
in,
true.
In a acting masterclass.
Playing Colonel Honda.
He is playing
not
Mr.
Not like I have big shoes to fill there.
Yeah.
Just an Academy Award winner.
Just
whatever.
an Academy Award winner. Yeah, just which, by the way, I as I was kind of putting this in here, Tarantino's favorite character he's ever written
I saw that.
by far.
Yeah, I saw that.
I agree.
And who else? We'll never know who else could have given that role the dynamism that Christoph Waltz did. But fortunately, we don't have to find out because he just crushed it in every
He
conceivable
knocked it
way.
out of the park. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a cruel, relentless master manipulator who uses questionable tactics to find hidden Jews.
Yep. He was a hunter.
And he will turn to whatever side will benefit him.
A genuine sociopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly. And people like this have existed for a long time.
Forever.
A long time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, probably still got a little bit of them wandering the earth
We
today.
can figure out the formula for weeding them out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Anybody knows, let us know.
Right, in a legal and humane way.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Whoa.
Yes. So let's get back to the film at hand here, shall we, Nickel Boys? My second scene that I wanted to talk about here, which is also, man, crushing, but very poignant, very important, is the grocery scene. So Elwood and Turner are out and about walking the streets one day, and they see...
Under supervision.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Elwood sees Martin Luther King
Across the street.
across the street at the grocery store. There's like a grand opening of the grocery store, and he sees Martin Luther King there, right? So, of course, this is, kind of a hero amongst the community. So he runs across the street.
Almost gets hit by
a car, drops
Yeah.
his notebook out
Yeah.
of his pocket.
Yeah.
And when he gets across the street, he realizes it's just a cutout. And they were just using it kind of as
A bunch of white folks were using it as a prop.
as a prop.
Yeah.
Yep, not great. Not great to see. He realizes it's the cutout, kind of laughs a little bit. Turner comes up, hands him the notebook he dropped, and he asks him about it. Like, why do you carry that thing around with you? Like, what's up with that? And then Elwood says, well, I've been journaling every single thing that's been happening.
I gotta say, I cringed when he started saying this.
Oh.
I'm like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Stop talking.
So he has been jotting down in this notebook all these like horrific things that he's been witnessing, and also that have been happening to him, because he sure as hell has had his fair share.
Oh, he has, and he's naming names. He says too.
Oh yeah, and he's calling people out.
Names, and dates, and everything.
Everything has been recorded, and Turner's reaction was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was kind of not only shock, but why would you do this?
It wasn't supportive even remotely.
No, not even for a second.
Nope.
It was sheer, what is wrong with you? Like, why would you do this to us? Like, we're going to get in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. But what was really fascinating here, and what I really, really loved, was earlier in the film, Turner explains, I think it's when they're painting the house. I'm not positive. You saw it more recently than me. Maybe you could call it. But he says there's 4 ways out of nickel.
Yeah.
And those 4 ways are age out, court intervention, escape, or dead.
That's right.
That's it. You got 4 ways out of here.
That's right.
And then Elwood, in this scene, when he's talking about the notes, says, I found a 5th way out. And that's, we get rid of nickel.
Right. Bring nickel down.
What you said earlier, this bright kid who his naivete has been stripped away, and now he gets it, and he's taking proactive action, like his heroes, like MLK,
That's
like
right.
Malcolm X.
That's right.
We can act. We don't have to sit by. He says, even Elwood says to him in this conversation, you're thinking about it wrong. Sometimes you can't go around the obstacles. You have to go through it.
Yep.
And what a brilliant kid, bright, intelligent, and people like him make the world go round.
Oh my God, yes.
We need people like Elwood.
The word that kept going through my mind, I'm a little bit older than Ryan, and probably spent too much time around Brits, but I kept thinking he's lovely. He's just a lovely human being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a sweet kid, smart, and both of them, they were kind of heart-melting characters.
Yeah, brilliant actors too.
Oh my God.
Stole the scene. Man.
Absolutely.
Stole the show.
Absolutely.
this scene in particular just really highlights the importance of people like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, people, Rosa Parks, people who feel, that when they see or are exposed to injustice, they stand up and fight. Right? They don't sit idly by and allow this injustice to take place. Elwood's one of those people. He's proactive. He wants to take action. He wants to he says, you don't have to go around it. You don't have to dodge and weave and duck and all these obstacles. We can go right through this shit and hit it right on the head.
There he was, probably the first kid that thought of this. And also, he had a very sweet disposition. He was not a fighter. He did get hit, but he never instigated.
Yeah, he was a lover.
And this kid was a lover, but he had, I shouldn't say but, he was a lover and he had spine. That guy had backbone. Yeah. He had the courage to do this. He had the courage to dream, if you will, about bringing down the Nickel Academy.
Yeah.
That's extraordinary. And that's where, when he told his buddy
Turner,
Turner, about his notebook, I was cringing because you could see Turner kind of going, no.
Yeah.
And you would have thought, because Turner was the one kind of educating Elwood about what Nickel's all about, you would have thought that, you would have liked to have thought that he would have been like, yes, like
let's
really have that bravery as well.
Yeah.
And you saw, at least then, he didn't.
Yeah. Again, that initial reaction that he had.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elwood started to just put the pieces of the puzzle together. And because he was bright, because he was smart, because he was intelligent, the brain starts working, right?
Sure.
And starts trying to come up with solutions and survival instincts. Really, that's what it amounted to, because people were dying.
Yes, quite literally. Yeah,
literally. So, at a certain point, it's a survival tactic, and I think it's like you said. He's got backbone. Because there's a scene where one of I guess you want to call him a bully at this school, one of the other African-American kids runs into him on the stairs, and he turns around and he's like, I'm not afraid of you.
I loved that.
Great.
I love that scene.
That gets a little piece of we know who the kind of person that he is.
That's right. And his tone of voice was perfect. You knew he meant it, and the bully laughed and kept going.
Yeah, laughed.
He didn't come back.
He didn't come, right.
Because I think the bully heard it too.
Yeah, it's not like, what'd you say to me?
Exactly.
Say it again. Come here. Yeah.
He was totally relaxed. He stopped. He could have let that guy just go.
Right.
And he stopped and turned. Yeah.
It was like, hey, man. So that's a great first instance where we get a sense
so good
of who Elwood is.
Yeah.
And he's got this backbone. He's got this grit to him. And even though he's not a fighter, it makes sense that he would take this action to want to put himself at risk to,
it does,
which it does, to save not only himself, but Turner and everybody else that he's witnessing all this horrible shit happen to.
Yeah.
Which it also was bizarre. Like, the grandmother couldn't come visit, and like the letters were getting, you know what I mean? It was just like a weird, fucked up. I mean, that's the only way to put it. It was a weird, fucked up situation where they were completely controlling it. They're making them go out and do like favors for people's like wives and shit.
Yep.
It was just weird all the way around. There was nothing about it that was straightforward.
It was a modern form of slavery.
Yeah.
So, and I mean modern day, like 1960s.
Yeah, it's like using the reform school as an excuse to have free labor.
That's absolutely what
you're going to go out in the field. You're going to pick apples or oranges or what was?
I don't know what they were picking.
They were picking some sort of fruits there.
Might have been oranges. Yeah.
Yeah, oranges. So it was like, and then you're going to go.
That's why they had oranges at lunch. Yeah.
Yeah. Paint the houses and all this stuff. You know what? This isn't a scene, but I just love this moment when before they switch POV and they're at the lunch table.
Whoa.
And Turner says, I've never seen anybody eat the food like that.
Yeah.
And then Elwood's so innocent, so, such a pure soul. He's just like, they got a bunch of cinnamon.
Yeah, there's a lot of cinnamon.
Put a bunch of cinnamon in it, Such a sweet kid.
I loved how he said that.
He was so
you
great.
eat that like your mama made it.
Yeah.
You eat that like you like it.
Right, exactly.
That's
God,
great.
Damn it.
Yeah.
We need people like Elwood.
We do.
We need people like him that bring it not only, and here's the important part. People like MLK, not only are you bringing attention to this injustice, but you're taking action and you're inspiring other people to take action as well. That's why these people are so important. That's why these social justice warriors, that's why we need people like that who it's like you model your behavior after them. Like
you idolize them, you mean?
Correct. Yeah, it's like all it takes is one person to speak up. And then you go, yeah, wait a second. Actually, now that you're thinking, now that I'm thinking about it, that shit is fucked up.
Yeah.
And we should. This is not right. We should.
The tricky part is who's that first person going to be?
Exactly. And in this movie, it was Elwood.
It was.
All the for years and years and years, all the people that fell victim to Nickel.
Yeah.
And all it took was Elwood coming through the doors.
And if you haven't seen the movie, we've really exposed a lot of it for you.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll inspire you to see it. But
Right.
there's also a lot of cuts of MLK interspersed in the movie, as well as the Apollo missions, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, me and my girlfriend talked about that extensively afterwards. Okay. Which, by the way, RaMell Ross wrote and directed, I should say, an Academy Award-winning documentary. So this is his first feature film.
Wow.
Narrative. So, but to your
he
point,
has a bright future.
Right. To your point, that's why we get those clips.
Yeah.
It's his style. It's his. We get a sense of him and his how he likes to
keep it real.
So
yeah.
I thought he did such a fantastic job here, and I'm sure, like you said, he'll be working for much years to come. So why don't we give these people a fun fact before we dive into our last scene, shall we?
Let's do it.
So both the book and the film, Nickel Boys, they both share the same name, are based on the true story of a segregated Florida reform school similar to Nickel Academy. The real-world school in question is the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys, also known as the Florida School for Boys, located in the town of Marianna in Northwest Florida. So this is based on a true story.
Brian, that is a fact. I don't think it's a fun one.
No, that's true. I should have said, let's learn a fact about the movie, not a fun fact. More of a sad fact.
Yeah, truly.
A debilitating fact.
Yeah, God, no kidding.
That this was an actual place that existed in real life, which calls back to what I said. Watching it, my mind, I was just like, I can't imagine living in this time. I can't imagine witnessing this and just being like, yeah, it's just life, huh?
Yeah.
This is just how it is.
Right.
It's so hard to grasp, which, again, thank God for that.
It shows up in different ways, though. That mentality is still here, though.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're talking about people who are living kind of the uninspected life, the people who aren't really questioning how they think. They're not really questioning the information they get. They're not questioning what they do with it.
Right.
So that really still exists, even if it doesn't look like Nickel Boys kind of thing. It's still here.
Yes.
It's still part of the human experience.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Sorry.
We haven't yet eliminated it.
No.
But more people like Elwood, and we might.
For sure.
So
my God, yes.
This little fact here will bring us into our third scene. Another really, really good scene. And that's the hallway scene. So Turner comes out. This is about a third of the way through the film. No.
Okay.
2/3 of the way through the film. Turner comes out of I forget, I don't know if he was in some sort of office or whatever, but he comes out and Elwood's sitting on a bench. And he says to him, what are you going to do with that book? Referring to the journal that we spoke about before, where he's writing everything down. And he says, what do you think you're going to be on the cover of Life magazine?
Yeah.
Or something? Like, what do you think
Yeah.
you're going to be a hero? You're going to be remembered for this? Like, and this was heartbreaking. This really hurt in the theater. Turner goes, "You think this is the only place like this? There's nickels all across this country." Oh, again, it hurts because you see it from Elwood's POV, and it's true. At that time, in the 50s and 60s, segregation, this was probably happening all over the country. So who knows how many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids were affected in this way. This is just one of many. But it does call back to the importance of what Elwood would do. Because yes, if you bring down nickel, you got a chance to bring down the rest.
That's right.
It'd be a domino.
That's right.
One happened, then,
That's
oh,
right.
hey, wait, we need to investigate these reform schools. The investigation
Yeah.
happens. Now everyone's out of, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it slowly just is a domino effect. And you just need one. You need one person. That's all it takes. One person.
This happened, that domino effect kind of happened in Ireland with orphanages that nuns were running, the Catholic Church was running. Some kids were disappearing.
What?
So-
Tell me about that.
I don't know a lot of the details, but it's kind of a parallel kind of thing that
In Ireland, there were orphanages run
Yeah,
by Catholic nuns.
by the church, Catholic Church, and kids were
Is this
disappearing.
that movie that Cillian Murphy's in coming up? There's a movie coming up. I saw a preview in the theaters. I haven't seen that preview in a while for some reason. But he's like witnessing this. It's like nuns taking kids into it. Yeah, so maybe that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
So that might be a movie coming out soon,
which we're gonna have to see.
which we might have to do an episode on.
I just gotta tell you, Ryan, I movies like this and with what's going on, in the news, even at my age, I still get astounded at the cruelty human beings are capable of towards others. And this movie made me think of a movie that showed so clearly how prejudice and bias is taught. That was
Yeah.
Mississippi Burning.
I've never seen Mississippi
That
Burning.
movie really showed you how, look, a kid's not born with prejudice. They're
Yeah.
like tabula rasa.
Yeah.
They are taught to hate,
Yeah.
and that movie really showed that.
Wow. Okay. So what was it?
Mississippi Burning. So that was Willem Dafoe,
Oof.
and it was before Denzel. It was Willem Dafoe, and I can't remember who else.
Mississippi Burning. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a brilliant film.
Small Things Like These. That is the Cillian Murphy film coming out
Oh,
about
yeah.
the.
Oh, we're gonna have to see.
We're
that.
gonna have to do an episode on that.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, you see, there's videos, and you can just see it and observe it that when kids are small, they just play with everyone.
Yeah,
It's just like
exactly. Exactly.
girl, boy,
Yeah.
doesn't matter ethnicity,
Yeah.
religion, doesn't matter.
That's right.
It's just like, let's play, let's have fun, let's hang out, let's whatever. It's only when you get to be a conscious, self-aware human that whatever you've been exposed to, the ideals, the ideologies that you've been sort of taught, as you said, start to really, really come through, and then you're essentially a part of the problem, and that just persists, because then you teach your children, and then they teach their children, and then it just
That's
never.
the way it's done. That's how we are. That's the way it's done.
It just never stops, man. But Turner's right. There are a lot of places in the South like this during the '60s when the story takes place. It's also sad because it felt like the situation they're facing felt too large to them. It's insurmountable.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing that we can do is going to make a difference, basically, from Turner's POV, right? Like,
Right.
what you're going to turn in this notebook and just poof,
Right.
everything's over. We're all happy. Everybody's back home. I think that's sad too, because that
Absolutely.
happens so much where people just feel like, well, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
It's too big for me.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly.
But I think Elwood wanted to do his part. He felt a responsibility to look after not only the people in it with him at the time, not only himself, but the future, the people yet to come. And thankfully, Turner came around eventually and helped him out.
He did come around. He did.
And then, just took on his name, his legacy, and tried to kind of continue that through his life, which was a really beautiful thing.
Agreed.
So how about we give these people some recommendations, huh?
Let's do it.
So if you like the movie Nickel Boys and you want to see more movies like it, here's 5 that you can watch right now. Spotlight, the 2015 film starring Mark Ruffalo. You can watch that right now on Starz. Black Klansman, 2018 film starring John David Washington. You can rent that on Prime Video. Fruitvale Station. What a film. 2013, Michael B. Jordan on Max. City of God, 2002 film starring Alexandre Rodriguez.
That was hard hitting, man.
Yeah, that's on Amazon to rent. And The Help, the 2011 film starring Viola Davis, and that's on the Roku channel. So what did we learn from watching Nickel Boys, Joe? That standing up for what you believe in and fighting proactively against injustice is something that we all should strive to do. We need more people like Elwood in the world. We need more people like Malcolm X, MLK, Rosa Parks. The list goes on. If each of us speaks up and doesn't sit by and allow injustice to happen in front of us, one by one, we can make the world a better place. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you're the main character in your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture, damn it. Because sometimes the answers you've been looking for are lying just beyond frame. We'll see you next time. Peace.